Hi guys, welcome to this GCSE PE revision for Edexcel GCSE PE. So this presentation, this first presentation, is designed to give you a bit of an overview of the test that you'll be sitting in May. It goes through all the different types of questions that you shall be asked, how many multiple choice questions there will be, short answer questions and also extended answer questions. It's designed to give you also some top tips to help you in the preparation for this exam. So first of all, this exam is going to take place, hopefully you're all aware, on Friday the 19th of May, and this is always in the afternoon, and it's one of the first exams that you will sit. You should obviously know that it's 40% of your overall mark. Now, we will have completed the practical assessments well in advance of this, so 60% of your qualification will have already been taken, will have already taken place, and you should know where you are sat before going into the exam and what grade you should potentially be looking to achieve. It's a 1.5 hour exam and it's out of 80 marks. So if we work that out, every 2 marks in this exam equates to 1% of your overall GCSE and the grade that you will pick up in the summer. So the structure of this exam, so there's 10 multiple choice questions to start off with, each being 1 mark. We would hope that the majority of students would get at least 9 and 10 out of 10 of these multiple choice questions. They are your basic questions that you'll be asked, and the right answer is there in front of you. You will then move on to a range of 2 to 3 and 4 mark questions. Now this works out at 58 marks overall of the paper. And finally, at the back of the paper, there'll be 2 6 mark questions, which is worth 12 marks in total. My top exam tips. So first of all, most importantly, it sounds daft, but the amount of students we see that fail to read the question properly and struggle and answer the complete wrong question, we see all of the time. So read the question at least twice and underline any key parts of that question. Is it asking you to define something or explain something, and what sport are they asking you to apply it to? Second of all, do not abbreviate. So commonly we see quads or abs. Make sure you elaborate on all of the key terminology. So carbs, don't put that, put carbohydrates. For the 6 mark questions, write a bit of a plan to begin with. How are you going to attack that question? So think about the structure. Always start with an introduction and finish off with a conclusion. Remember that these questions at the end of the paper, you'll be tested on your spelling and grammar. Also, don't leave any blanks at all. Make sure you are attempting to answer every single question in that paper. Check how many how many marks are available for that question. If it's just a 1 mark or 2 mark question, don't write reams and reams and reams for your answer. Make sure if it's worth 3 marks, you're applying a practical example as well. And look out for the buzzwords in the question. What is it asking you? Is it asking you for influences or roles? Is it asking you to link to the cardiovascular system? So make sure you're really answering that question. Common mistakes that we often see. So first of all, as I said, students not reading the question properly and they just dive straight in with the first answer or the first sort of key terminology that does not apply to that question. So make sure you read it properly. Students also fail to apply practical knowledge or key sporting examples. Remember, it's a GCSE PE exam, so always apply sporting examples where possible. So if it's a question about agility, not only define agility, but also state what sports require lots of agility. We also see lots of students not expanding on the answer. Now that links to the point above. Always expand and give practical examples. And finally, poor spelling, grammar and punctuation. As I mentioned, not extending their answer or spelling quads or carbs and not elaborating on that. So multiple choice questions, although they are easier, be careful with these questions. So if we look at this example, which one of the following is a definition of exercise? If you look at A, B, C and D, they are all definitions that you have learned throughout the GCSE PE specification. So first of all, a complete state of mental, physical and social well-being is a definition that you should know. However, this is for health. B, a form of physical activity done to maintain or improve health and/or fitness. So this would be the correct answer. However, if you look at C and D below, the ability to meet the demands of the environment is in fact the correct definition of fitness. And D, the ability to exercise the entire body for long periods of time, that is the correct definition for cardiovascular fitness. So you do have to be careful. The right answer is there, but make sure you are aware of the definitions and you can apply it to that question. Don't be caught out by it. And if we look at this example here, power is used in a variety of different activities as part of a healthy, active lifestyle. Which of the following demonstrates the effective use of power? So again, look at that question. What is it asking of you? So power, first of all, you should be thinking about the definition for power. So it's speed times strength. If we look at the different answers it gives you, so a weightlifter slowly lifting a 5 kilogram weight. So going back to the definition of power, speed times strength. We can see it mentioned slowly. That would not be the correct answer. C, if I jump past B, a gymnast holding a handstand. Again, holding something isn't really a correct explanation or example for power. And finally D, a sprinter hearing the starter's gun and responding by starting to move out of the blocks immediately. So hearing a gun would link to reaction time as well. So if we go back to B, a tennis player serving an ace, so her opponent cannot return the ball, would be the correct answer, as that involves speed and strength. So the top tips, underline the key words in the question. So if you look, for example, here, this is taken from a recent exam, which of the following would be most important to a rower 8 minutes into a 12-minute race? So keywords would be most important, so it's not asking for the least. And finally, 8 minutes into a race. So it's not early on, it's towards the end of a race. Now, I'm not going into the different answers it provides you. However, the answer would be muscular endurance. The right answer is always there with these multiple choice questions, so make sure you're looking into it and you're applying the correct answer. And finally, go through a bit of a process of elimination. Which one is it definitely not? And then work backwards. Now, short answer questions come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes they're a simple 1 mark, 2 mark question asking you to define something, but sometimes they will give you a table that you need to expand on, and other times they will ask you to apply to certain sports. As mentioned previously, if it's anything beyond 2 marks, make sure you're defining it, you're explaining it, and also providing a practical example. And with these questions, it's more important to underline the question. So we've got one, for example, here that has been used. It is a 3 mark question, and as you can see, this example here only secured 1 mark. So the question is asking you to name an activity where muscular strength, endurance and flexibility are important. Now the student outlines weightlifting, which is absolutely fine. So they get the 1 mark for saying weightlifting requires muscular strength because you need to be strong to lift the heavy weights. They've left a blank answer for B, so they lose that mark. And as you can see, for C, they haven't read the question correctly. Yes, flexibility is important to gymnasts. However, they've changed that sport from the original one of weightlifting. So they only got 1 mark here. If we look at how this answer should be constructed, this student here has written hockey, and they go through muscular strength, endurance and flexibility for hockey. So they're applying it correctly. As we can see here, the examiner's comments state that this student received 3 marks. So each section of the question had a clear explanation of the situation. So they applied it to hockey and they used key terminology. So a powerful hit for muscular strength, and throughout the hockey match for muscular endurance. And finally, they mentioned players lunging forward for the ball and to reach that ball for flexibility. Now, extended answer questions. There are 6 marks available for each. So there's 2 questions, so 12 marks in total. And I've written A star to C there because last year The difference between an A star in this exam paper to a C was only 11 marks. So it is the difference between not just one grade boundary, but quite a few. P, with extended answer questions, make sure you're making a point, you're explaining that point with some factually accurate information, and you're applying some practical examples to that question. Now I'm just going to give you a bit of an example on this P. I know it might be quite difficult to see here, but as I've mentioned, make your point, explain it and apply it. So I've given you an example here of explain why protein is important for weightlifters. So your first point that you make, weightlifters need protein in their diets. That's the point that you're making. Explaining it, it provides the body with energy it needs to recover and repair muscles. So you're explaining that a little bit further, so why the weightlifters need it. And the application, in order to build new muscles through hypertrophy, so making the muscles bigger, and also to increase muscular strength. So you're applying it back to that performer. This approach to exam questions will help students understand and value the importance of the marks required. However, it is important that you link sections of the answers together, so use connectives. Remember, you get marked on your quality of written communication here, so use connectives such as because, so that, therefore, however and although. Where possible, always give an introduction, define it, lead into that topic. Now, to achieve the 6 mark or 5 mark answers, you should be writing developed statements. So expand on it, provide those practical examples. And finally, give that conclusion. What did the question ask you? And conclude on it. The top tips for this, plan your answer. Don't just dive straight in. Highlight and respond to all key points in that question and use a series of developed statements. Expand and elaborate with the use of those connectives. And always use appropriate terminology. Finally here we can just see exam help. As I've given you before, there's 10 multiple choice questions, 58 short answer and 12 extended marks on offer. Make sure you're highlighting throughout. Check the marks that are available and also check all of your answers. So finally, to finish off this presentation, and as you finish your exam, here's some top tips for you as well. If you have enough time, don't just put your head down and go to sleep. I've seen many students do that before. You should be using that time wisely. You are given an hour and a half for a reason. Read through your answers, go back over the paper and check them. Have you answered that question? Could you add any more information at all? And have you given practical examples where necessary? Make sure you're using all of that time available. So hopefully this presentation has been of some use to you and explained to you exactly how the exam will work and what you'll be tested on. So just remember the breakdown of that paper. It's 40% of your overall mark, 60% of your overall grade should have been secured with your practical performance. And this final exam will hopefully put you in the best position possible to achieve those target grades that you've been working so hard. And remember, Rossett School students, #Aspire. Thank you.